Hey, everybody, welcome to a pre match episode of Across the Pitch on AAT Sports Network. My name is Mike Barrera. I'm just sharing out the show on social media. I know there's a lot of anticipation right now for today's match. The Phillies game is on too, and I haven't even had a chance to turn it on. So I'm excited to get this show started. So give me 1 second here as I post this online. I just ran in the door. I'm like hot right now. Just ran in the door, barely had time to even get myself settled or get a drink. But today, the Philadelphia Union host NYCFC in a massive game at Subaru Park. The last time the Union had a chance to lift the supporter shield, it was in front of basically not many people in a fairly empty stadium back in the COVID year, 2020. So now we have a chance in front of what should be a sold out crowd in Chester, Pennsylvania, to host NYC and hoist the supporter shield. And there's just a lot of things that I want to break down tonight in our preview. First of all, the lineups just came out, both for NYC and Union. A lot to discuss there. We'll get to that in a second. But let's just focus on the magnitude of this match. So I think when I look at it from a perspective of what I want the most, I want MLS Cup the most, right? I think CONCACAF Champions Cup is something that we all look to have and look to earn. It's so hard to get there, and it's so hard to win it. Open Cup, I think, is something that has eluded the Union for quite some time. Obviously, right? They have three MLS or Open Cup final losses. You have this really tough loss today in Nashville, very difficult, and we all want that as fans. Leagues Cup, I think, is the least important for most of us, but the Supporter Shield is something that, like, I was thinking about a lot this week. I think it's at the bottom of my list of things that I desire in terms of a Union fan, MLS Cup, CONCACAF Champions Cup, Open Cup. But when you look at how difficult it is to earn Supporter Shield, it's extremely difficult. It shows sustained success. It shows that you have a squad that's able to compete week in, week out, despite the difficulties of travel, despite the difficulties of a congested schedule, despite the difficulties of injury, which we have tonight with the Union's lineup. Despite all that, the Supporter Shield truly shows that you were able to withstand an entire season and come out on top. And I think you see this a lot in baseball, in particular. Again, going back to the Phillies, are currently in the NLDS, hosting the Dodgers tonight. In baseball, if you play great all season, but you go into September on a slow on a like a losing streak, you're most likely going to struggle in October. And you can probably say that for most sports. Look at the Eagles back 2 years ago. They started out real hot. They had a bad second half of the season. They get into the playoffs and they just fall apart. And I do think that there is some value to consider that in terms of which one is more difficult, the MLS Cup playoffs or any sort of tournament, or sustained success across an entire 9-month season. Sure, a lot of teams can get hot right before the MLS Cup playoffs and they can make a run and they can be the best team at that current time. That doesn't always mean they're the best team as a whole. And when I thought about it today and this past week leading to the show, it's like, man, the Union really have been on top of MLS for the entire year. And it just got me more and more excited for today's match. And it started early on. I mean, you saw the really strong start from them back in March. You saw them enter that very tough gauntlet in May, and they go through that entire stretch undefeated. And Coach Carnell has mentioned that at least 2 or 3 times since that month, how important that stretch was for the success of this team as a whole throughout the rest of the season. So it's just, when I think of the perspective of it and I try to think of the big picture of it, it's like, man, the Union really have been so good. And this is just that final step. This is the final piece of that puzzle that we've been dying for as Union fans. That trophy to show that we are one of the best teams in MLS, at least this season. But let's dive into everything. And Valerie, I see your comments in there. We'll get into this conversation a little bit more. Let me get to the lineups, because a few things to discuss here. First and foremost, prior to this match, we knew that Indiana Vassilev had a knock in the DC match. We knew that Micah Ua had a knock coming out of the DC match. Jeremy Raffanello was also going to be out for this game with a hamstring injury. So you knew entering today there was going to be shifts to the lineup. Thankfully, Micah Ua is back and ready to play. Indiana Vassilev is back and ready to play. But there's a bit of a shift in the starting lineup. And it's not something that I expected today. I'm happy with it, but not something I expected. Andre Blake started in net, of course. Kai, Makanya, Glesnes, and Harriel all in the back line, as expected. Lukic and Danley, of course, as your defensive midfielders. Indy Vasiliev and Milan Alaski as your attacking mids. But Michael Ua gets a start today next to Bruno Damiani. Now, we saw how impactful Michael Ua was in the DC match. I think if you watch the show enough times, you know how much we all love Michael Ua, and he does all the little things and all the things that don't always show up on the stat sheet. And he is a leader by example. I don't think he's a vocal leader as much as Alejandro or Andre Blake or even Jacob Glessens has been this season. Definitely not Kai, right? We all know Kai Wagner is a very vocal leader. But it seems like Michael has always led by example. And honestly, I think he's earned this start. He's been consistent throughout the year when he's had his minutes, and he stepped up for us in DC when Quinn Sullivan went down with an ACL. So I'm really happy that he gets a start tonight, and we're gonna see if it pays off. I mean, this is a pretty big. I wouldn't say it's a big risk, but it's gonna raise some questions if things do not go well. If the Philadelphia Union struggle tonight offensively, the first thing that the reporters are gonna say is, "Well, you didn't start Ty Baribo. What happened?" And he's gonna get questioned for it, and rightfully so, right? That's the questions that the media should be asking. Why are you not starting your goal scoring leader in a trophy winning match, right? You win tonight, you win the trophy. Why is he not starting? But I think Michael Ua has earned this start, and I'm very happy for him, and I hope he does well tonight. On the bench, handful of players we want to discuss here. Bizo, Baribo, Donovan, Rick, Pierre, Bedoya, Kevin Sullivan, Jesus Bueno, and Ben Bender. Ben Bender is a big one we want to talk about tonight. In the pre-match press conference, Bradley Carnell mentioned that Ben has been improving in training. He's improved his versatility as a player overall. And for someone who really hasn't seen a lot of time, I thought that Carnell was pretty high on the praise of Ben Bender. So we see him on the bench tonight. I'm very curious to know how much he plays today. You don't have Jeremy Raffanello. You don't have Quinn Sullivan. In terms of attacking midfielders, you have Ben Bender, Kevin Sullivan, Alejandro Bedoya, and Chris Donovan is your the next one after that. Jesus Bueno. I mean, you don't really have a whole lot of options. So I anticipate that Ben Bender will be seen tonight in some capacity. But also something that I'm really curious about, and something that I hope is at least tried today, if the situation presents itself, is Danley Jean-Jacques as an attacking midfielder. Again, going back to the pre-match press conference with Bradley Carnell, Bradley mentioned how Danley is versatile in that way. He can play attacking mid for his national team for Haiti. He does also play further up in the formation. So there is a possibility, in my opinion, that you could see Indiana Vasiliev possibly get slotted to the defensive mid, and Danley gets brought up top, or maybe Jesus Bueno comes in and replaces Indy, but then plays as a 6 and Danley plays as the attacking mid. I'm not quite sure how Bradley Carnell is going to play with this. Maybe he keeps it very simple, but I wonder if we do see Danley a little bit further up in the formation today. And we know how dangerous he could be on the ball rather. We know he's an end-to-end midfielder, box-to-box midfielder. We know he can do well on both sides of the field. So I think Danley Jean-Jacques is absolutely a player to watch, and we're going to see in the second half in particular how Bradley chooses to use Danley. But let me get to the comments real quick for those who are watching. I don't even think I shared this on Twitter, which is just my own fault right there. So I'm going to do this a quick retweet as I'm talking with you all. My afternoon today, like I was just at a 3-year-old's birthday party, so I literally sprinted home, rushed in. I'm still sweating a little bit from trying to beat the traffic on AAT Sports. All right, great. Now it's shared on Twitter. But let's get to the comments. I know people are anticipating this very exciting match for the Union. Valerie says, I forgot to watch MLS Countdown. I wonder what they said about the U. I don't know. Hopefully all good things. And Valerie mentions that JT said it's sold out. So I hope that it's a very ruckus crowd today. I remember the comment that Bradley Carnell made earlier in this season. I think it was after the Charlotte match, how he saw people leaving early, and he said, I didn't expect that. I thought we would be, more present for the entire game. So I'm hoping that as the season goes on with the playoffs, and hoping tonight in particular, we show Bradley how passionate and how loud these fans can be the entire 90 minutes. No one leaves early. You stay till the very end, and you cheer the team on. Valerie goes to my point about playoffs, saying, why do we even have playoffs? Why can't we be like other leagues in which if you have the most points at the end of the season, you win the league? Valerie, listen, I have always questioned that as well, because I know that's the soccer way in America. That's not how we do things. When I try to explain the supporter shield to people who aren't soccer fans, I always reference hockey with the President's Cup. I say, yeah, after at the end of the year, they have the President's Cup. That's the best team in NHL that season, but it doesn't really hold as significant weight compared to the Stanley Cup. And that can be said across all American sports. Your NL pennant or your division titles don't matter that much at the grand scheme of things. In football, your division titles get you better seed in the playoffs, but it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. It's all about the Super Bowl. That's just how American sports handles things, is through a playoffs. But again, going back to my previous point, it's like, man, you could be the best team the entire season, and you don't win one game in a tournament, and suddenly you don't hoist that trophy. It seems almost unfair at times, but we'll see if the Union can win both this year and not have to worry about that. SC mentions 9 games in May and didn't lose once. Yeah, listen, SC, that stretch with Open Cup mixed into it, you travel to Montreal. I'm trying to think. I think you had the LA Galaxy match in that whole run. I think we ended it with Miami and Toronto. It was a really, really tough stretch of games, both home, away, congested schedule. You played 2 Open Cup games, and they left unbeaten through those 9 games, and that really set the tone through the season. It really did, and honestly, it reminded me very much of 2022 when we had that long stretch of games where we kept tying games. And Jim Curtin said, "It's we want to win, right? We always want to win games, but drawing is much better than losing." And we saw that in this month of May. We were winning games, but we were also drawing matches, and we weren't giving up those leads to fall and lose points in a loss. So that month of May really prepared this squad for what they're going to face tonight in New York City. Valerie says, I thought Ty would start instead of Mika. Yeah, I thought so too. And Joe, party till we die. Joe, thanks for joining us today. I think you're at the stadium today, Joe. I don't remember if we talked about it or not. But let's look at New York City's lineup as well. A few things to discuss. First of all, Matt Freese got kicked in the head last Saturday by Triple Malting from the Red Bulls. I was unsure, well, all of us were unsure, rather, if he was going to play tonight. There was obviously talks about concussion protocol. Looks like he's cleared to go. He is starting in net today, which is huge for them. He's been great since he's been with New York City. But there's another familiar face starting on the New York City squad today. Andres Pereira gets a start in midfield. Andres Pereira is on yellow card accumulation warning, so I'm curious to see if they try to attack him at all, if they try to get him in foul trouble early and try to get a yellow card for him early. So Andres Pereira starting tonight. He is on yellow card accumulation. But the big name here is Alonso Martinez. Alonso Martinez, I believe he has 17 goals. I'm looking at my app right now. He has 17 goals in the MLS season, 27 starts, 2 assists so far. He's obviously the main man to watch. He's been dealing with a quad injury. He saw limited minutes in September, late September, against Miami. He did not play the Red Bull match, and I was really unsure if they were going to play him today, considering that injury. The New York City squad is in the playoffs. We know that for sure. However, their playoff seeding is not yet determined. As of right now, they sit in fourth place, excuse me. They're tied at 56 points with both Charlotte and Miami. However, Charlotte has 18 wins, New York City has 17 wins, and Miami has 16 wins. Of course, Miami has in game in hand on most people, and I believe Charlotte played earlier today. Charlotte beat DC United 1-0 today. So Charlotte has leapfrogged New York City. They sit in third place, and New York City sits in fourth place. So with Miami having a game in hand and currently tied with points with New York City, there is a very real chance that if New York City does not win a match for the rest of the season, they could fall to fifth place and even potentially sixth place if Nashville goes on a winning streak to end the year. So, I thought about this, like, do you want to risk your goal scoring leader at this point in the season? Probably not. But at the same time, you also don't want to fall into fifth or sixth place, especially in that first round, the best of 3 series, which is stupid. And that's another conversation for another day. But regardless, you want to finish top 4 in the Eastern Conference. You want to have home field advantage in the Eastern Conference. So even though New York has clinched a playoff spot, I guarantee you they don't want to fall below fourth place, even third place for that matter. So Alonso Martinez gets a start today. Again, 17 goals, 2 assists. You look at Maxi Morales, the ageless wonder that he is. He's 38 years old, and he's still getting assists. He leads the team with 7 assists this season. But even beyond him, you have Nico Fernandez, you have Julian Fernandez, two players recently scored. Julian, I think it was Julian who won the game against Columbus. So there's a lot of weapons on this squad. There's a reason why New York City has climbed the table as they have, and they can beat you in multiple ways. And it doesn't just have to come from Alonso Martinez. It can come from Hannes Wolf, who also has 11 goals this year. We know how talented Andres Perea can be. We saw it with Orlando. We saw it briefly with the Union before Curtin threw him in the doghouse. So listen, he comes back to Philadelphia. I don't know if he has any animosity towards the Union, but listen, I'm sure he might have a little chip on his shoulder when talking about the Philadelphia Union, and maybe he comes out and has a big day. We're not sure. The rest of the lineup for New York City, we have again Matthew Freese in net, Thiago Martins, Justin Hack, Raul Gustavo, Kevin O'Toole, Tavon Gray, Maxi, Andres Nicholas, Hannes, and Alonso Martinez. So I think there's a lot of hype right now for the Union. They're at home. You expect to win at home. But this is not going to be a walk in the park. This is not going to be like DC United, where it's a 6-0 match. If you make the mistakes that you've made against DC early in that first 20 minutes of that match, if you make the mistakes that you made against New England when you were up a man and you almost gave up a goal in stoppage time, New York City is good enough to beat you. And we've seen it so far this season against playoff caliber teams. We saw it against Columbus when they stole a goal from us late in that match and they got a point at home. You saw it against Miami when we also had 3 points secured at home and we blew it late and then we ended up drawing that match. We've seen it a few times this season where the Union have not been able to close out opponents, especially in stoppage time. And we've seen it against tougher opponents when they fall asleep on defense and they aren't able to capitalize enough offensively and they end up drawing match. So this is one of those games where you really cannot afford to fall asleep on defense. You really cannot afford to make careless mistakes like you've made against New England, like you made against DC United, like you made against Montreal. Don't forget, we gave up stoppage time goals twice against Montreal. We managed to come out with those with wins, but that doesn't happen tonight against New York City. That doesn't happen in the playoffs when things are tighter and the margins are thinner, as Jim Curtin used to say, very razor thin margins. Let's bring up some more comments here. Joe mentions, he's in Williamsport. Joe, enjoy Williamsport. Have a great time. Go Union. I know you'll be watching. Joe says, hey, Mike, I got a joke for you. If we win the Supporter Shield, does that mean we get a berth into Club World Cup in 4 years? I don't know. Maybe. And Valerie says, MLS Countdown and extolling the virtues of Lasky and Damiani. Yeah, Milan Lasky is a big player right now. Quinn Sullivan, of course, goes down with a torn ACL. Absolutely gutted for him. Jack McGlynn also has a season-end injury. I forget right now what the injury is. Someone can mention in the comments what his season-ending injury is. But Quinn Sullivan, of course, is not present tonight. He won't be here for the rest of the season. So Milan Lasky will have to step up in his place. And he's just been a gift this year. He really has. Since we've brought him over, he has been lethal in the attack. He's been aggressive. He's been attempting shots from outside the box and testing the keeper and getting on target too, for that matter. But the one thing we all saw when Quinn Sullivan was away for international duty was that there was no creativity anymore in this lineup. Milan Lasky, present, has to be, as Joe says right here, Lasky is going to be our 10. He has to be that 10. He has to be that playmaker. He has to be creative. He has to be aggressive. Indy Vassilev, we all know, is a high motor, high energy guy, good in the press, good defensively. He's had glimpses of offensive spark throughout the season. We saw it against the Red Bulls. I think it was Open Cup, or maybe been the home match. I can't recall right now. There's been periods where Indy Vassilev has stepped up offensively. We saw him get the goal against Montreal early in this year. I believe that was during that May run as well. And we saw him contribute a goal against DC United just last week. We're putting a lot of pressure on every player to step up in Quinn's place, but Indy Vassilev has to take that next step up. He has to be able to create somewhat with the ball. He has to make sure the strikers are getting, good looks into the box to get a goal, a shot on net. Indy Vasiliev will be a huge part of this puzzle to end the season. And I'm really excited. I think he's gotten better as the year progressed. I think early on, he was just an energizer bunny. And I think as the year has gone on, he has improved his offensive game. And with Milanowski at his side, I do think there's a legitimate possibility that they can be at least close to what Quinn and Milan were. I don't think they're ever going to get there. I think Quinn is still going to be the better playmaker on the ball. He can take players one-on-one more than Indy can. But I think if Indy can just step his game up a little bit, you can have close to the production you would have gotten with Quinn and Milan. So I'm glad that they are talking about Milan Milanowski on the MLS Countdown. He's going to be big time. But then Bruno Damiani, Valerie, as you mentioned here, we've talked about him all season. He's gotten into great positions. He's had great chances at net. He's had opportunities. He hasn't been able to capitalize. Well, lately he's been capitalizing. You saw it against Cincy. You saw it again last week. He is finally making his mark with scoring goals. He's not just getting beaten up by defenders and not getting a whistle. He's not just getting shots on target. He's finally finishing these things, and he's being aggressive doing so. Again, referencing the New England match when he basically steals the ball away from Ty. We've talked about this now the last 2 weeks. Ty Baribo entering this match in good form. I'm not sorry, Ty Baribo, excuse me. Bruno Damiani entering this match in good form is exactly what the Philadelphia Union needed. Because Ty hasn't, I can't remember the last time Ty has scored. I'm going to look back on my lineup real quick to see the last time Ty has scored. I know he was away for international duty, but we did not play during that break as well. Matches. The last time Ty Baribo scored was August 23rd against Chicago, which was a 4-0 victory. Prior to that, it was against Colorado on July 26th, which is a 3-1 victory. So in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 matches, he scored 2 goals, and he's had 1 assist. He had an assist against Toronto in that draw. It's not exactly setting the world on fire, Ty Baribo. And that's fine. We know strikers are going to have these streaks. They're going to go hot. They're going to go cold. Michael Uwa is currently playing well. Bruno Damiani is now on his hot streak. And we have to see if he can replace the production that Ty Baribo had. But also, one of the great reasons why Ty has scored so many goals is because of the shots, the service into the box that has given those opportunities. Most of Ty Baribo's goals this season have been off first touches. They've been one touch, boom, into the back of the net. That comes from Kai. That comes from Nathan Harrell. That comes from the midfielders. It all contributes to the production of the strikers. So, we're giving Ty a bit of a hard time right now, not exactly knocking our socks off with the goal production. But the midfielders have to get service into the box as well. And they have to give these strikers a chance to get some goals. Let me get some comments up here. SC mentions foot surgery. I'm assuming that's for Jack McGlynn. So he has a foot surgery. Thank you, SC. And Valerie mentioning Jack's foot. Valerie says 49.4% win probability for the Union. I mean, again, it's a tough opponent. I'm not surprised by that. I think you can absolutely make a case that New York City could draw this match. They've been pretty decent on the road. But you know what? Kudos to the Union. They've played some tough teams on the road. They played Chicago, who are a very strong road team. They played New England, who are a very good road team. And now they play in New York City tonight, who's also a pretty damn good road team. And the Union that answered that call these last 2 matches. And look what Chicago did to Miami. Chicago went to Miami. They took an early lead. They blew it. It was 3-3. And then they came back and scored a total of 5 goals on the road against Miami for a 5-3 victory. That's not an easy place to play, especially when it's hot. And they're again showing why they deserve to be in the playoffs, and they have earned a playoff bid. And their victory this past Tuesday against Miami is the reason why the Philadelphia Union can earn the Supporters' Shield today. So again, we've done well against these tough road teams, which gives me some more confidence entering tonight. New York City is going to come in here with a lot of confidence, and I think we can handle them, and I think we can match their energy. Valerie says 2 of 3 countdown pundits say a Union win. I hope so. And the Union are favored on sportsbooks. Most people expect the Union to win tonight. But at the same time, it's It's not a guarantee in MLS. We've seen it time and time again, week after week. It's not a guarantee in this league. It never has been. We saw Toronto come here. We thought it was going to be a win. They ended up pulling a draw. We've seen Montreal squeak out random wins against teams they probably shouldn't be beating. It's just the parity of the league. And I know Todd Lewis and I and others of independent media members have been talking recently as we prepared for tonight's match and say, man, this league is so exciting. That's why I personally like MLS. That's why I like college basketball or other even NFL. Every single season, there's a new winner. Every single season, somebody can compete. Every single season, you don't know what's going to happen. That's what's so great about MLS, and that's what's so great about just this Union season in general. I didn't think the Union could make the playoffs entering this year. Dave Miller and I both sat here 7.5, 8 months ago, and we said maybe 10th spot, maybe 9th spot if everything goes okay. Are they going to be deep enough? Are they going to be good enough? Bruno Damiani, Lukic, are they good enough? We don't know what they're about. Makanya, is he good enough? Is he ready to play? And now look at them. They're preparing to hoist the supporter shield at home. That's what's so great about this league. That's what makes it so fun. Every single week, we never know what's going to happen. Let's see. Lord of Olympia says, Harriel at right back tonight. Yeah, Frankie Westfield's away for his U20 World Cup duty with the U.S. squad. He's been playing pretty damn good as well. For those of you who've been following along, he's been having some pretty strong performances so far at right back for the U.S. national squad. I'm really happy for Frankie Westfield. Very, very happy. He deserves it 100%. But Lord of Olympia, yeah, Nathan Harriel is going to have to step up tonight. Because for me personally, I enjoy the tenacity that Frankie brings in the right back spot. And I also think his crosses have been really good this season from what we've seen. And I don't think Nathan's crosses are as good as Frankie Westfield. That's just my opinion. That's just visually. I don't have any sort of facts behind it. That's just how I feel watching this game. Maybe you guys agree, disagree, etc. I've always said that I think Nathan Harriel is better at center back for this squad. But he's going to have to step up tonight. He really is. And if it's not off a cross, it's going to be him being vertical in the set pieces, getting on top of a header, and getting one to net. And that's what we know why he's so good. Nathan Ariel, as they used to call him, right? We know one of his skill sets that Frankie does not have is his ability to get up, get a ball, and be dangerous in the set pieces. And we're going to have to need that tonight because guess what? New York City is pretty dangerous on set pieces as well. I think they've had 9 set piece goals this season, so they're not exactly slouches in that department whatsoever. So it's 7:29 right now. The game's about to kick off. Joe adds here, I forgot one point. Don't play down to New York City. We definitely cannot. And I don't think this is an opponent you play down to, Joe. I don't think you play down to New York City. I think that they are even. I think they're closely matched squads. I do think that if they played a best out of 7 or best out of 3 or whatever you want to say, that they would probably split the series. I think these teams are very competitive. We've seen that throughout this rivalry that we've built up with New York City. We had the 5-1 victory last year, and then they beat us last year. We beat them twice the year before, but then they've beaten us before. We saw the COVID year when they beat us in the Eastern Conference Finals, and they go on to win the MLS Cup. This has been more of a rivalry than we've seen against the Red Bulls. And think about how many years it took us to even win in the Bronx against New York City FC. So you talk about rivalries and who your main opponents are, the people that you circle on the calendar. I think DC United is we think DC, NFL purposes, even Phillies, hockey, that's our main rival. I wouldn't say that's the case in MLS. We've been doing pretty well against DC United. The Red Bulls, obviously, we've been handling them for the last 4, 5, 6 years at this point. I think New York City has become more of a rival to us than any other team in MLS. And Orlando plays us tough. Miami is a pain in the ass. But I do think New York City is probably our closest rival. And I don't think we play down to them tonight because I don't think they're below us. I think they're evenly matched for us. And I do think that on any given day they can beat us, especially at home. SC says, you doing a post-game? Yes, we are doing a post-game show. Jose is at the stadium right now. I was hoping he could hop on in the pre-match. He can't. But he said that if he was able to get field access or something like that, he'll try to go live somewhere close to the celebration. Knock on wood that they actually win it tonight. But we'll see. But we are going to do a post-game show as well. We have a lot to talk about. Lord of Olympia says for next year, hope they sign a veteran center back to complement the current squad. Absolutely agree. Lord of Olympia, you absolutely need a center back. You cannot rely on what would be an 18-year-old Neil Pierre and Nathan Harrell as your center backs. Olivier Mbaizo has obviously lost a step. He's no longer really involved in the lineup as much as he used to be. Frankie Westfield is likely going to be your starter. Nathan Harrell and him will probably go back and forth with starts. You need a center back. And Jan Glavinovic was clearly a disaster this year, which isn't all his fault, right? It's an injury. Nothing you can do about it. But center back is absolutely going to be a need over the offseason. 1,000%. And we'll see how all the players fall. I mean, Michael Ua is on a contract. Do we bring Michael Ua back? Not sure. Personally, I think Michael Ua could be a starting forward in most teams in MLS. And right now, he's been basically a bench player. He's been a bench player since Bruno Damiani has kind of gotten more minutes behind him, which is probably, I'm trying to think, April, May is when Bruno started getting more consistent starts. Mike Ua has been a bench piece throughout most of the season. So, yeah, center back, striker, a lot of things we could discuss in the offseason. But for right now, we have the Supporter Shield in front of us. I'm not sure if Miami brought it up to Chester yet. I think it's still with Miami, who won it last year. So we'll see if we hoist the Captain America Shield or we host the actual Supporter Shield. But we'll find that out later. Knock on wood. But the Philadelphia Union take off in about 2 or 3 minutes. Look at my watch right now. About 3 or 4 minutes. I'm going to sign off now. I'll be back on the post-game show. I'll probably be on right away. I don't think I'm going to wait the usual 10 minutes or so. Probably maybe 5 minutes. I'll be back online to our post-game show. See if I can get any of the other independent media members on here to discuss everything as well. And listen, go Union. I see the Phillies are winning as well. Let's have a great night tonight. I'm hoping that after this match, we have something to celebrate. Go Union.